Good evening and welcome to the CHANA Alumni Question and Answer event. Welcome mothers from all corners of the world who have gathered here tonight to learn and grow in the area of Shidduchim. This will bring us all tremendous brachos and help us in a practical sense to guide our children to their basher. Please sit back and enjoy your questions answered. As the coordinator of the CHANA Los Angeles Shidduch Initiative, I have, Baruch Hashem, a database of close to 150 California single girl profiles, ranging from ages 19 to 40. If you have a son looking for a wonderful out-of-town California girl, please private message me. We have great suggestions. We have amazing girls. It's truly an honor to do this question and answer event with the world-renowned Mrs. CHANA SCHUSTERMAN. If your daughter or son is looking for clarity during, before, or after her dating process, Mrs. Schusterman is an expert Shidduch mentor. She has guided many young men and women through the dating process. It really makes a difference. Without further ado, Mrs. Schusterman, can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Okay, so I actually do other things too. I teach and I do ruchniistic counseling, which I have the Rebbe's guidance that I should be doing this. How did it turn out that I do Shidduchim mentoring? That is a surprise to me myself. The fact is that it took me a long time to find my Shidduch, my own Shidduch for myself. And I got guidance from the Rebbe. At the time I was living in Yerushalayim. I got guidance from tzaddikim. I got different kinds of guidance, and it really helped me a lot. And when my Shidduch was ultimately made, I was asked by Nechama Greisman of blessed memory, who actually made my Shidduch. She asked me to speak for the women in Yerushalayim, the English-speaking women. And I thought, oh, I'm engaged for 2 days, suddenly I'm an expert, right? But the fact is that I had dated so long that I did have a lot to say. And it's gone from there. I also teach the girls in the seminaries in Israel every week, every year, God willing, may it continue. I give a class for each one on how to date. And I also teach boys. So I give sessions either for mothers, for daughters, for sons. And the specialty is to help the girl or boy know what are they looking for, help them to figure out for themselves what they're looking for, how to actually date and find out if this person is suitable, and how they themselves should know if it's right for them. And interestingly, not everybody does it the same way. So it's a very personal kind of session. That's basically what I do. I do it professionally, and I enjoy it very much, Baruch Hashem.
Thank you. The question of ready, am I ready? How will I know if my daughter or son is ready to date or to get married?
So I think it's better to start younger. We don't know how long the process is going to take. This is min hashamayim. But unless there's a special reason to wait, some people, for example, need some more maturity, and there's a chance they're going to get that maturity. There was a girl that I counseled, and I asked her if she felt that she was ready or she wanted to wait. And her answer was, I'm not going to grow until I get married, so I might as well get married. And I asked the same question of another person who said, I need to get something straightened out. And so she did those things, and then she got married. So I think it's good to offer them to get married on the younger side. And unless there's a reason not to, just go forward and see how that goes.
What if I feel my child is ready, but my child does not think that she's ready? She wants to wait another 6 months, a year. What do you suggest?
So I think it's good to have a conversation. What is she waiting for? Sometimes people are not sure what they want exactly. Do they want shlichus? So they might say, I'd like to go for a half a year to the home of shluchim, to work there, and see if I like it. And if they want to do that, that's completely reasonable. So you could wait that 6 months. But I think that if there's no real reason, maybe they're just a little nervous, then I think it's good to just start looking. As I said, it doesn't always happen immediately when you want it to. So it's a good idea to start. Somebody called me not so long ago that someone special had come up for her daughter, and her daughter said she wanted another 6 months. So she asked, what should she say? So I told her that this person could be the right person. This could be somebody really suitable for her, and that it's an opportunity. I also told her that if any of us was the mother of the boy, in general, we wouldn't wait. Why should we wait 6 months for somebody that we don't know if that's going to work? So that she should be told it's an opportunity. You don't have to marry him. Go out. If it's good, then you're going to say, okay, I'm getting ready. And if it's not suitable for you, so you didn't lose anything, but it is an opportunity that it's worthwhile to take.
Okay, thank you. How do I find a shadchan who will take the time to get to know my daughter and put in the effort to find the appropriate boys?
That is a really good question. Mrs. Perl has a list of shadchanim, she told me.
Yes.
So that's worthwhile to check in with her and get some recommendations. Some years before I actually found my shidduch, I was in New York, and I had a yechidus with the Rebbe just before I was going back to Eretz Yisrael. And I told the Rebbe, I need a shidduch. And the Rebbe told me, go to shadchanim, because that's the way it's ordinarily done. So when I went back to Israel, so when I was in Crown Heights, I got a list of people to call. And that was very hard for me. That's why the Rebbe had to say, because that's the way it's ordinarily done. I was just saying, okay, I'm ready. Come, I'm ready, done. But the Rebbe was saying you have to make a vessel for it, a kli. So I made a list. I got a list from some people that made recommendations, and I called those people. And I called them every month. And I made an effort to meet them, talk with them, tell them who I am, and ask them for help. Now, some people on the list had good advice, but no ideas. Some people didn't know how they got on the list. They said, I have nothing to do with these things, so nice to meet you. So those people came off the list. And with one person who later made my shidduch, I became a friend. And other people started to come onto the list. So I always had a list that someone recommended somebody, and the list was a changing list. But what I did was I called every single month until either they said, I would love to help you, I get who you are, I just don't know anybody, in which case they stayed on the list. Or they said, I don't know anything about this, or I already told you what I could tell you, in which case they came off the list. And then if somebody had a good experience with a shadchan, that person came on the list. So I recommend having a list. If you could get to know them, that would be good. You might say, I would like my son or my daughter to meet you, or to have a Zoom meeting, so that you could see who he or she is. That's a good idea, but I don't think you should put all your eggs in one basket in terms of this and expect it to be just one person, because that might be the person who makes the shidduch, or it might be somebody else. And one more thing, when I came out of the Rebbe's room, I understood that the Rebbe meant to network. I just understood that. So that didn't mean only shadchanim. The person who made my shidduch had never made another shidduch. That was the only shidduch she ever made. But sometimes there are people who know people. They're not official shadchanim. So I think it's a good idea to suggest to your children that if, for example, they're in Crown Heights or wherever they are, they should go out for a Shabbos meal to somebody who knows people, and not just stay with their aunt or their grandmother, but to go out and meet people, because that's a way of networking.
Should a child write his or her own profile to reflect his or her personality rather than the parent as parents' ideas of what the child needs? It could be much different than what the child's perspective of what he or she wants for his or her future.
I think it's a good idea for the parent and the child to have a conversation about it. It's a good idea for the child to write their own resume and then to show it to the mother, and they go back and forth with it. One of the things that's good about that is that it will help your child, who's probably not a child anymore, clarify what is important, what to stress, what to write, who to use as references. So I think it's worthwhile for them to write it, but in conversation with you.
Checking references. How do you talk to the reference for the Bachar to find out the real truth about him?
Okay. Baruch Hashem, I was very involved in all our kids' Shidduchim, of which there were quite a few, KAYN and HARS. I have a lot of experience on this. The first thing is that you have to know what they're looking for. I'm going to keep saying that again and again because I think it's really important, because that's going to help you understand what you're trying to find out. Because what are you asking? If you say, is he a nice person? Is she a nice person? The answer is obviously yes. That's not going to help you very much. So you have to have some subjects that are what you really want to know about this person. And when you know what it is that you want to find out, then that's where you're going to ask your questions, other things you're going to stress. My personal method became, top secret that I'm sharing with you, I discovered that multiple choice questions really work.
Interesting.
So I would ask a question, like I would start with something very simple. Is this boy or girl on the quieter side, on the louder side? When you meet them, they're kind of smiley or they're serious. Now you can hear they don't even go together, these questions. It's like a first impression kind of question. So I put together whatever things I wanted in there. And the most interesting thing was that the buffer or the girl would be, that's such an interesting question. Well, let me think. Are they, and then you see their process right in front of you. They say, well, he's not too loud. I mean, he is lively. I mean, when you look at him, he's serious, but he's a happy person. And they fill in everything. You would be surprised the things that I found out about people because the question intrigued them. Now, one suggestion, because many of the mothers here are mothers of girls, but there's also mothers of boys. We learn in the Gemara that one thing that helps people to know who somebody is for men, koso, kaso, vikiso. What's he like when he drinks? What's he like when does he get angry? And what's he like with his money? So somewhere along the line, I would always put in, because I wanted to know about koso. So when he verbrangs, and I put in a bunch of things, whatever I felt like doing. Is he serious, like he learns Hasidus when he verbrangs? Does he get happy? Does he get loving and warm? Does he get a little rowdy? Does he get shikker? And I would say it all in the same tone. Does he get shikker? Does he get drunk? Everything in the same tone. Is he, is he, is he, And the most amazing thing, well, see, does he get shikker? Sure, he gets shikker. He's a bacher. What do you mean? He gets shikker. Really? Well, tell me about that. Yeah, he gets shikker. Okay. You have to know what that means to find out a little more about that. If you ask 3 people and they all say it really gets shikker, you have to think about that in advance. because the Rebbe put a limit on how much people are supposed to, let's say, l'chaim. You're getting shikar, what's that all about? Also with anger. So what I would ask, these are real questions that I asked. So if things aren't working out his way, does he get quiet? Does he talk about it? Does he hold on to it for a while? Does he get nervous? Does he discuss it with somebody else? Basically, does he get angry? But all in that even tone. And they tell you, well, he kind of does hold on to it for a while. He doesn't talk about it. But after a week or two, he gets over it. I have had people tell that to me. I don't want my daughter married to somebody that takes him 2 weeks to get over the fact that something isn't the way he liked it. So you will hear tremendous amounts of information if you do this. I have to say that I did this for a while, and then some people start to call me for references, asking my multiple choice questions. So I would, get some joy out of that, but it really works. With girls too, what do you want to know? If you want to know about their tznius, for example, you can say, so about her tznius in that very offhand way. Is she, like seriously tzniustic, like old-fashioned, very particular? Is she tzniustic, but she's kind of a little more modern? Is she stylish? And then somewhere along the line, say, or it's really tznius is not her inyan. And they tell you, they will tell you, that's not really her inyan, she's a good girl. I mean, she's a real Hasidic girl, but tznius is not really her inyan. Okay, now I don't know, they don't know who I'm asking about. So they don't know what I want. Maybe I don't want somebody who's super tzniistic. Maybe I want somebody who is. They don't know that. But when you ask it in this open kind of tone, they will fill in the information. I also can ask what happens if things don't go her way for a girl. And they're busy with, what did she just say? Well, she's kind of like that, and she's kind of like that. She's like that and like that. I'm telling you, I was shocked at the things people shared with me because people always like multiple choice questions.
Is it okay to share dating expenses if the guy or gal needs to travel?
Okay, so in general, the custom is that the boy pays the dating expenses. That is the custom. Some people think, if the boy is buying you a soda, you should offer to pay for it. That is not a good idea. No. He's supposed to take care of his wife, so he should pay for it. At the same time, there needs to be sensitivity, because sometimes there are families who have a dozen kids. This is child number 11. They've gone through this many times, and it's like, it's a little over the top for them. There needs to be a sensitivity regarding the travel expenses. Usually it's the boy's family that pays for it, but you have to also check on the family. If they can afford it, they should pay for it, because that's the custom. If they can't, then you could offer to share. And it's possible that they will each go back and forth. So you have to have sensitivity to what's needed in the situation. Otherwise, the boy pays when he comes and the girl could pay when she comes.
My daughter is a wonderful catch. Boy, do I have a daughter. Working, great balabasta, great with children, careful with money. She has a calm disposition, but she's full size. She's an 18. And we can't get past the moms. All mothers know they can get any girl, no matter how full size their son is, but I can't get an FFB to agree to meet her.
So I'm sure your daughter is a great girl. Boys who married quite full-size girls, more than 18. And their mothers asked them, is this an issue for you? So I think that mothers of boys need to keep in mind that they're looking for a suitable girl. A size 2 girl is not necessarily a better catch. or a healthier catch for that matter. So I think this is something you have to look into. So you have to find, you have to discuss this with your son. Is it something that you're all right with? Another suggestion is to find a shadchan that is sensitive. Sometimes the shadchanim are the ones that, oh no, I could never do that.
Is it okay to offer my son someone who has a medical condition that is under control? If so, what would be the best way to present it?
That is a very good question. First of all, everybody has to know what would or would not work for them. Mm-hmm. And that means health situations, going out with somebody who was divorced. Sometimes people get divorced because they married somebody that really wasn't right for them, and they were married for a short while. It was nobody's fault. Or sometimes there are people who were married for 2 years and they have a child. So health and these issues are things that come up, and you have to know what can you do and what can't you do. So in doing the research, what health issues for one person is really a red flag, for other people, if it's under control, this is not a problem. So you have to find out what it is, and if it is under control, and you have to find out yourself, what does this mean? What does this situation mean? What does it mean to keep it under control? You might want to ask a doctor, and at some point you might want to ask her or his doctor to ask, what does this mean? And then if that's the case, the next part of the question was, how do you present her to your son or daughter? It's important to be honest about this and to give a little description about what it means to have it under control, and to say it like it is. What is it going to mean in that person's life? If it's about medication, say that. You don't have to take medication once a day, twice a day. It's about keeping a certain kind of diet. Okay, fine. As long as your son or daughter knows what they're getting into, I think it's fine to do that if you're comfortable.
Thank you. I get calls all the time from my younger daughter, but we're waiting for our older daughter. What would you advise? And I have another question that's very similar. I have an older daughter who's waiting to find her other half. Now that my daughter's getting older, it's time for her to get moving, my other daughter. How do you deal with the fact that she might end up getting married before her older sister? And what can I do to help my older daughter, in a ruchnius way, find her other half faster?
I think you have to look at, in terms of we're waiting, I think there is more to this than just the age order. I could give you an example. One was completely not ready, and his younger brother was completely ready. Another one, the older one was in yeshiva, and the one just under him felt that he had completed yeshiva and that he was going to work, and he felt like he should get married if he's going to work. So I think it's more than just age order. You know, if they're 18 and 20, it's fine to wait if you would like to. And there are other aspects of this question. What would it mean to your older daughter if your younger daughter went first? Could she handle this? Would that be an emotional trauma for her? So you have to think about these things. But I have to tell you also that I know situations where a lot of people got backed up because number one was being waited for, so daughter number 2 didn't go, and then daughter 3 didn't go, and then daughter 4 didn't go. And daughter 1 didn't yet get married. And at a certain point, the mother realized this is not fair. This is not a good idea. So sometimes you have to decide, because she couldn't do it. She felt she was betraying her sister. Now, what happens when you do this is that you have to speak to the older one and tell the older one that you feel that, I think in this question was, you're getting offers for the younger one. That by Hashgacha Pratis, some good ideas have come, and each person is different. And you feel like the right thing to do is to let her go forward and have a conversation. It's possible that she'll need a little time to adjust herself to this. It's also possible that you're going to have to find somebody else to talk to her about it. But it is appropriate. It's also considered a ruchniistic. Part of the question was, what can I do for the older daughter? Baruchnius. It's considered a good thing if the older daughter with a full heart gives permission to her younger sister. And what's supposed to happen is that the younger sister is supposed to give some money, $100 or something from her own money, to you to put aside for her older sister's wedding. And then another thing that we often do is wait a little bit longer when the younger one becomes engaged. In other words, right now, if a girl gets engaged right now, she could get married Rosh Chodesh Elul. So to wait another 2 or 3 weeks to bring it to the end of Elul would be something that we do in the hopes that this older child will have a little more time to get her shidduch, and it does happen. But it's not always a good idea to wait.
Now we're going to go into the actual dating process of saying no. Is my daughter realistic? Should I support her as she turns so many great offers down, waiting for Mr. Perfect?
This is a common question. It happens often. You know, it's really essential for the girl to have some kind of an idea of what she's looking for. And we have to know also that nobody has all the qualities. The Rebbe once told somebody, this is well known, it sounds like you're looking into a few different boys when you're talking about what you want. In other words, you can't have a type A who's very gentle. But if you want a type A who's gentle, then you're asking for something that really doesn't exist. You have to think what is important to you. And I think it's important for the girl to have some discussion about this with the mother, with the mashpia, with the dating mentor. What is she actually looking for? I recently had a fascinating experience. Someone that a mother called me, and I've counseled several of her daughters. And this one, she said, this one, I cannot tell what's going on. She's looking for Mr. Perfect, and it is really confusing, and I don't know what she wants. Okay. So we had a session. Usually it just takes one session. But we were getting deeper into it, and there's something about this that we're starting to head into someplace else. So I said, it's possible that another session would be helpful for you. Okay. She called me back the next week. So we worked to get deeper and deeper into what she wanted. The last 5 minutes of the session, the most shocking thing happened. She said, by the way, there's one more thing that's really important to me. And she told me something completely different than anything else she had said. And I said, but this doesn't go with all the other things that you just said. And she said, yeah, but if I have this, I don't care about the other things. It turned out that what was really essential for her was unclear to her. When it became clear to her, the whole list turned around. So I think it's really important to find out what is your daughter looking for. Essential. Because then she's going to stop looking for Mr. Perfect. She also needs to know that nobody's perfect, including herself. None of us are perfect.
What do you tell your daughter when she says that she has had a good conversation during the date, but she does not think the boy is for her? Does she need to feel from the first or second time Should I encourage her to meet more times and see or agree with her feelings and just let it go? It's not easy for us to find other suggestions.
Because there are a few different parts of these questions. The first one is, does she had a good conversation? Does she need to feel from the first or second time? Okay. No, she does not need to feel from the first or second time. When she goes out, if she has an idea of what she's looking for, she should be using her mind to see who is this person. That's what she should be doing. So she wouldn't necessarily feel anything. If she feels like this is an interesting person, I'd like to see more of who he is, she should go out again. It's considered mental to go out twice, not just once. So the person should go out again. Okay. Now, should I encourage her to go out more? For sure, she should be encouraged to go out twice, unless something very unusual, he scares her, or he drives like a maniac and she's in the car, she can't handle it, then she doesn't have to go out again. Don't make her do something that's so against her gut feeling. But if not, then it's a good idea for her to go out again. But the aim of going out is to see who this person is, not to see what her feelings are. It's really important. So there's the third part of this question was, it's not easy for us to find other suggestions. The bottom line on that is you have to trust in Hashem. You don't want your child to marry somebody that she doesn't want to marry. And you don't want your son to marry somebody that he doesn't want to marry. So for this, you have to have trust. You want your child to marry somebody they can move forward in life with and have a good life. So I think, it's very hard to start again. It's hard for the mother. It's hard for the child. It's like, we have all been through this, or I certainly have been through it. You have like a stack of papers on all the people you researched, and some of them you really hoped would work out, and they didn't work out. But if it's not the right one, so just start with a new piece of paper. Start with the research again and have trust. It's really, really important. Hashem is the one who makes Shidduch. So Hashem will come up with the right Shidduch. Just have to have the patience and the willingness to start again.
How important is chemistry? If the boy and the family are wonderful, but the girl feels like Parav after, let's say, date number 6, is it the indicator to stop?
Sometimes the problem in terms of Parav, sometimes just not the right person. That could be. But sometimes what happens is that the dater has a lot of expectations. They're expecting to feel a certain something. I once asked somebody who had that kind of situation, did you watch a lot of movies? And the person said, yes. I said, well, that's what's going on. You think it's just, so you're expecting, And that person said, I really regret every movie I watch because that has not helped me. So when people have expectations, it's sometimes not the best thing. So, okay, but 6 dates. So I would say the first thing is to help the person understand their expectations. What are you expecting to feel? Who is this person? You have to be interested. The dater has to be interested in who is this person, not just check off their list. Okay, I want somebody smart. Okay, he's pretty smart. I want somebody who's kind. It seems pretty kind. You're not getting to know somebody when you do that. So you have to kind of put your list aside. You know what you're looking for. Put it aside. Just try to get to know this person. See who the person is. And then it opens to seeing whether there could be a relationship or not. Now, in terms of feeling this chemistry, the Rebbe says that the people who are dating are supposed to feel hamshachas halev. Hamshachas halev means that you feel drawn to the other person. Again, in terms of expectations, different people are different. Some people have high chemistry expectations. There are some girls that they're like that in life. Wow, I can't believe it. That's amazing. About anything and everything. So for her, that's pretty normal. She would want to say, wow, I went out with a great guy. I don't know if I'm going to marry him, but it's such a nice conversation. For her, it's not abnormal. For another person, it's, you know, this was a really nice, I read this book, I really liked it, I would recommend it, a tone that's not high expectation. So there has to be at some point hamshachas halev. So we'll have to see. But at that point, sometimes I suggest to people, if they have found out everything they need to find out, and the person seems suitable, go out again and stop asking questions. Just see what happens. And that's somebody some years ago called me with that. And I said, okay, he seems good to you, has all the things, yeah, he has all the qualities. Okay, so I said, in that case, go out again and don't ask questions. Just go out and have a good time. I said, it could take you 1 or 2 times. And after one more date, her mother called me and said, she's so excited, she wants to marry him, she feels it. Once she had the yoke taken off, that she had to keep checking, she felt it. And they're happily married.
Wow. Don't you love when that happens?
Yes.
Are we sometimes in the way of our child's finding their bashert? How do we get out of the way?
That is a very interesting question. It's really important to be on the same wavelength as your child. Okay, sometimes you see things that your child needs that they don't see. So that's okay to have that in mind. But you have to be very honest. What does this child need? So, and sometimes you have to back off and say, what does she really need? What kind of life does she want? What's the direction she wants to take? Is this a suitable direction for her given who she is? So if you're honest with yourself and you back off, then sometimes what you see is that you have your own expectations about the type of family you want, or that it's a close-knit family, or a small family, or a large family, or that they have money, or that they live in a place that's convenient. So a mother once asked me, a Shidduch came up for my son in Russia. I don't know if I should do that or not, because he's going to move to Russia. I don't know if that's what I want. And with some conversation, she came to the conclusion that if this is the beshert, then that's what she should do. And so she actually let him go out with this girl. So, in other words, taking off what is stopping us from being able to go forward in a way that's really open and honest with your child's needs. So sometimes it's just backing off and looking at what are my prejudices and dropping them to the side.
When your son or daughter has gone out a lot of times and has still not found the right one, my daughter is fed up with the system and wants me to leave her alone. What do you suggest? What should a mother do when she feels burned out? And how do I keep my daughter's spirit positive after so many dates didn't work out for her? She really puts her best foot forward on her dates.
Interesting questions. So the first question was, my daughter's fed up with the Shidduchim system and wants me to leave her alone. Okay, first of all, the Shidduchim system works really well if you work it properly. Keep the shadchan in, check on who the person is. I can't tell you how many people send their children to go out with people that they do not check on. Then afterwards they call me because they're upset about it. It's really, you have to do some checking to find out if this is suitable. Another thing that is really, really important is that dating should be private. Oh, the girls get worn out when they're about to go out with somebody and the mother tells the daughter's siblings, her own siblings, the world knows about it. So she's going out on a public stage, depending on how large your families are, with 20 or 25 people who know about this. That is exhausting. And it gets worse because her sisters and her sisters-in-law and her aunts, everybody wants to know, how did it go and what happened? That's not right. It's not right. And it wears the girl out, and she wants out of the Shidduch system. What does she want out of? What she might want out of is a public event. She'd like to meet somebody someplace at a table. Why does it have to be everybody knows about everything? So I think that the mother needs to make a decision that this is private. If the daughter wants to tell one sister and the mother wants to tell one sister, good enough. Then everybody has somebody to talk to, and that person should be told, do not ask about the date unless she offers, because it's completely wearing. So that's one thing. It's also very possible that the girl or boy, they're not sure what they're looking for anymore. They've gone out with a number of people and they're not sure what they're looking for. Then maybe a dating counselor will help to get them clear about what they want right now. It's really important not to give up. So stay in the loop with her. What is she looking for? What is it that's bothering her about the process? Find that out. And then you can tweak it somewhat by making it more private, or by sometimes the girl wants to talk to the shadchan herself. Sometimes she wants the mother to talk to the shadchan. If there are tweaks that you could do that would make it better, then do that. But don't give up. So keep looking for somebody for her, but keep in contact with her. Now, similar question, what should a mother do if she's burnt out? Mothers also. Again, you have to clarify what she needs and the direction she's going in, and you can't give up. You can't give up. It took me so long to get my own Shidduch, and I was really thinking about giving up. I actually wrote into the Rebbe a couple of times, and I said, you know, he's a Lubavitcher, he's good, he's in it. The Rebbe did not answer me, and then shortly after it fell apart, the Rebbe didn't let me give up. And I don't think that people should give up on their children. I know it's hard, but as time goes on and you see more clearly what they need, or they themselves see what it is, you have to start again. Starting again is really important. It's essential. We believe that Hashem makes the world new in every moment. So you also have to start with a new moment. You have to start with a new moment. The last one was, how do I keep my daughter's spirit positive after so many dates didn't work out for her? And she really puts her best foot forward. Okay, so we need to remember, and we need to tell our children that Hashem is the one who makes shidduchim. So if she's clear about what she's looking for, he's clear what she's looking for, you have to begin again. I did that. I told that my daughter, who took her a long time, I would talk to her about Emunah. Sometimes she would roll her eyes. Why not, after all? But afterwards, she really said, I learned a lot about Emunah from you. In other words, we have to make them understand that it's not about us and it's not about them, but it's really about Hashem, who will send the right shidduch for them. We need to have our process, but they need to have Emunah, and that will help them start again. But I want to add one more thing. It's really important that when you're talking about Emunah, that you should encourage your child to be b'simcha through this process and not just sit there waiting for the right person to show up, because that's very damaging. Everyone should have something to do, whatever it is, learning, working, developing something that they're good at, but everybody needs to go forward with simcha, and that will make a real difference. So they should be encouraged not to make this their entire life. Somebody, I remember, it took me so long again, a friend of mine said to me many years ago, she said, wow, I have Kanina her a lot of children. I can't go anyplace unless I work it out. And usually she doesn't. And she said to me, you're so fortunate. You can do what you want and go where you want. And it was a very interesting thought to me. Oh, yeah, I don't have to answer to somebody. And then sometimes when I felt I needed some from my work, I'd go to Tzfat because I felt peaceful in Tzfat. So if your child has been working really hard, let her figure out what makes her happy. Sometimes it's to visit a sister. Sometimes it's to figure out what she likes to do. But it's important for her to be b'simcha. And I also have to tell the mothers, it's very important for the mothers to be b'simcha in working with their process with their child. It is not a good idea to get all worried and, okay, so it didn't work out. Okay, well, we're going to have to do something. I guess we're going to have to find somebody else. If you talk to them in that way, you make them nervous. You say, Baruch Hashem, we tried, no problem, didn't work out. Hashem will send somebody and we'll look for something, no problem. If you talk in that way, you help yourself not to get burnt out, but you help them not to get burnt out. And then you help them to keep their trust in you because you believe in them and you believe in Hashem. And I think that is the method. The daughter has to be positive and you have to be positive, and the son has to be positive. Everybody has to be positive in this.
Now I'm going to start addressing questions that the mothers have put on the chat. What if a girl or boy wants to continue, but the parents are discouraging to continue the date?
What does it mean to discourage? Okay, so just a second. Theoretically, you find out who the person is, you find out everything you need to know, and then you send out on the date. I was told, because everybody has had such situations, or some people have, that once you allow them to go out, it's up to them. Now, sometimes what happens is that there are things that you did not find out. For example, some people keep things hidden. Let me just say something about that for a minute. There are people who don't want to say things about their children's situations, and they might say it like on the fourth date, and then your child calls you and says, she told me that she takes medication for this and that. I had no idea, and you had no idea either. Now you need to say, I need to find out more about this so that we know what we are dealing with. So it's okay to come up and say, I have a concern about this. I don't think I would have fixed you up in the first place. And I know that you like her or she likes him, but we have to look at this in a serious way. And you're back into the picture. That should not be discouraging. You can't fix somebody up. You can't fix your child up with somebody and then say, I changed my mind. I don't know anything about them. So what a hassle. So don't do it. You can't do that. If you fix them up, they're in. But if there is something that needs some special looking at, then you absolutely come in and find out more and share with your child your concern and what it means. But it's still up to the child.
If a girl rejects a boy after 2 dates, but the boy feels strongly towards this girl, should the boy continue to pursue her?
I don't like the word rejects. I don't says no, she is not rejecting the boy. She's saying no. If he feels very strongly, he could ask that she go out again, but not try to convince her, but just to have another date, to see if it moves forward, and sometimes that works. Another thing that people sometimes do is they wait a couple of months and they ask again. And I have seen this more than once. I've been involved in such a shidduch myself, where it was so clear to me that this girl was right. I was counseling a boy, that this girl was so right for him because I helped him with person after person after person. So did you go out with somebody before that might have been right? They said, if you will act as the shadchan, we'll do it. Happily married with children. Because sometimes people say no a little bit prematurely. And then what they did was, what the girl did was they asked after him several times more until, Baruch Hashem, they went out and they turned out to be right for each other. But no pressuring. And I'll tell you, a boy, if he does this, he should not say, so why did you say no? Well, that's not a good idea. So just go out again and say, I'm happy that you agreed to go out with me again. Is there something you'd like to discuss that we didn't talk about yet? But sometimes the girl is clear that it's just not the right person for him. Just because he feels it's right doesn't make it right. There was a time that somebody wrote into the Rebbe. She wrote in and he wrote in. They had gone out. And the Rebbe, as I understand it, gave the boy a bracha and not the girl. What's that? And the Rebbe was asked about it and said, this is the right type of girl for this boy. So I gave a bracha, but for the girl, this is not the right shidduch for her. So sometimes it happens that one person thinks it's right and the other person doesn't. And people should not be pressured to go out just because the other person thinks it's right.
A girl is dating a boy. In the beginning of the dating, he says keeping his beard, his full beard, is a deal breaker for him, and he will never touch it. Well, they're going out, and by the 7th date, she says, listen, it really bothers me, the beard. Can you take it off or at least trim it? I never really liked beards. Sure, I can consider that. I can probably do it if it means so much to you. She calls her mashpia and says, I'm concerned that he is giving up a deal breaker so easily. Is that a red flag?
Just a second. If I understand this correctly, his condition was that he's keeping a whole beard.
Right.
She knew from the beginning that she did not want somebody with a full beard. But she didn't tell him that until the 7th date.
Right.
I don't like that at all. What does that mean? Let me state that in a nicer way. That is a red flag indeed. What does that mean? She dated him under false pretenses. And now that he likes her, she's going to play around with what's really essential to him. That does disturb me. I must say that. She should have said from the beginning to her mother that she doesn't want somebody with a full long beard. It's not what she wants. Okay, maybe she doesn't mind if he rolls up his beard, if that's what he wants, but everybody should have their cards on the table. They should be honest with each other. I do consider that a red flag. And now that he likes her, okay, there are other situations in which a boy wants to go on a certain shlichus, and the girl is not going to go on that shlichus. But the mother convinces the shadchan that maybe they're a really good match. And if he is willing to consider changing his idea of where the shlichus should be, because he he likes what he hears about her, then that's his choice. He's willing. If she's willing to go on that shlichus, that's lechatchila terrific. If she's not, he's willing to do another shlichus that she's also willing to do, fine. But I think there has to be an honesty in how you represent yourself.
What about Zoom dating? Does it interfere with the dating process?
It's really important for people to get married. So depending on where you are, it's possible that Zoom dating is the only way that you're going to be able to meet each other. In the old days, people used to date by letter.
Wow.
They didn't meet each other. There was no way somebody from France was going to go to Russia just like that. No planes to go on, wasn't happening. So they figured it out. I think it's fine to go out on a Zoom date, but again, you have to know who you are. If you feel like this works for you and you like who you see, fine. But a lot of times people feel like the Zoom dating is good for a number of times, but then after that, you really need to meet each other. So that just has to be figured out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But people shouldn't wait to get married until all this, whatever is going on over here, is over, because it's a lot of uncertainty in the situations as they are. And people are getting engaged and should date and should get engaged and get married.
Since I'm new to this, I'd like to know, should the parent call for the reference or ask someone else to make the calls? Maybe the shadchan to make the calls, the reference calls, since I'm new at this. My daughter is likewise wonderful, but grew up in an Orthodox home rather than a Chabad home. And it seems there are mothers who will not consider her because of this. And not being part of the Chabad community, it is difficult to get around this. Any suggestions?
So the mother is not Chabad herself.
Right, she didn't grow up Chabad, she grew up Orthodox.
But the mother became Chabad?
Yeah.
Okay. So she needs to find somebody to help her. It could be her mashpia, could be a friend, could be the shadchan, but very often the shadchan doesn't want to make the calls. And I don't know if that's what I would recommend exactly. She certainly could talk to the shadchan and say, do you know, if a shadchan suggests a boy, then she could say, what do you know about this boy? And she should do that. Obviously, everybody should do that. And then get references and then get somebody to help you make these calls. I think that's really important. Now, in terms of a lot of mothers of the boys are not happy for the girl to marry somebody, for their son to marry somebody who didn't start out Chabad. It's not always like that. Could be the girl is very frum and very dedicated to halacha and very real, and she has become Chabad, and so she could be really enthusiastic about being Chabad. So what difference does it make that she didn't grow up being Chabad? But her enthusiasm counts. So here are situations where the question came up before, am I getting in the way of my child finding their b'shert? Sometimes this could be a perfect person for somebody, and that we just have to get over that idea of our expectations of who the family is. If it's a good family with good midas, I would say there's no reason not to do it, but she should get help from somebody who's willing to.
I'm frustrated with the shadchans not taking the time to get to know my daughter, not calling me back. Where do I go from here?
I understand. I really understand. As we spoke before, I think that there needs to be, you need to have a list of shadchanim. Some people are going to come off that list. People will never call you back. People who are not helpful. People who don't care who your child is. They just say, okay, I'll give you 3 ideas and see if they work out for you. If that works for you, good. If you like that, then take it. But if you need to have somebody that's trying to find somebody specifically for your child, try another shadchan. Ask for recommendations of shadchanim. There are shadchanim who are very sensitive and helpful. Once you find 1 or 2 or 3 people who are willing to be sensitive and helpful, have them meet your child. Are there people that don't call back? Yes. Yes. So if you can't rely on them, oh well. Or you can call them back and say, is there a reason that you didn't call back? And she might say, I'm so busy, I really don't have anybody. Fine, so take her off your list. But don't get frustrated. Just work with it. I mean, people have their favorite clothing stores. Then there are other stores where every time you go in there, there's nothing for you there. Don't go back to that store. Remember what a store used to be? Yeah. So don't go into that store. Go into the stores where you sometimes find something. It's practical, but please don't get frustrated. You need to keep starting again and keeping your amunah and bitachon.
One mom wanted to know, is it okay to use multiple shadchanim?
Sure. It's like going to multiple stores. You're giving, first of all, you're not marrying a shadchan. Not marrying a shadchan. If a shadchan works really hard for you, but it's not working, somebody asked the question before, and I just thought of it now. Sometimes you have a shadchan who really works hard for you and tries again and again and hasn't worked. It could be very thoughtful to write her a little letter with a check in it, $50 or $100, something that says, I think you're wonderful, you've been so helpful, I really, really appreciate all that you've done for us, and I hope that you'll find the right one for my daughter soon, and I look forward to that. Because everybody likes to be appreciated. That's human nature. So when you write that note and you send something, you're saying, I really appreciate how hard you've worked for me. But you certainly can have a handful of people, whatever is on your list, that might help. You have to try that. Otherwise, you're just trying with one person, then if they don't come up with anybody, then what's going to happen? So you have to make different vessels until the right one comes.
My daughter is a Baal Teshuvah from very young age and had been in Chabad school since she was very young and is very from Hasidic girl. I'm not part of the community and am finding that many families won't consider her. What can I do?
This reminds me of the person who asked the question, we have no idea who that is, who said, how can we get out of the way of our children's meeting their bashert? This girl was raised in Chabad for her whole life. Okay, so it's fine to find out, are her parents menschlich people? Are they good people? Maybe she's right for your son. Maybe it's not the family you expected, but this could work. So I think that people need to be more open-minded and take away some of the rules that they themselves make. And again, you need to get to have somebody to help you to meet people, to figure out who's going to help her. Also, sometimes the girl herself might have a mashpia who might be able to help with some shadchan suggestions, and sometimes the mashpia is willing to ask some of the questions.
I have different types of children looking for different things, from very modern to quite regular / Hasidic. How will this be viewed and separated in a shadchan's mind?
Even if every single one of your children is completely Hasidic, they're all different. Nobody is the same as anybody. And you don't have to try to impress anybody. Try to get a shadchan or a family friend or somebody who understands the child that is up now. The one that you are looking for, that's the one that you focus on. You don't have to worry about that. You have different kinds of children. Wonderful, Baruch Hashem, that's life. Even if every single one of your children is completely Hasidic, they're all different. Nobody is the same as anybody. And you don't have to try to impress anybody. Try to get a shadchan or a family friend or somebody who understands the child that is up now, the one that you are looking for. That's the one that you focus on. You don't have to worry about that. You have different kinds of children. Wonderful, Baruch Hashem, that's life. So they are going to need different kinds of shidduchim. But some of what you're looking for is the same. With midas, menschlichkeit, some wisdom, some maturity, whatever you're looking for, don't worry about what other people think. That really doesn't help. And not necessarily will the same shadchan make the shidduchim for each of your children. It's not a problem. You cannot expect each and every one of your daughters-in-law and sons-in-law to be the same. And I'll say another thing about that in terms of after they get married. Each of them just needs to be accepted for who they are. So appreciate each of them for who they are and accept and appreciate that each of them is right for the child that you're making the shidduch for. And that's all that counts. I want to give each and every one of you a bracha for easy and successful process. You should have clarity to know what's really important. And you should see wonderful hashgacha pratis that for each of you, each and every one of your children marries somebody that is wonderful and just right for them. And may each of them have a binyan a day ad. And may you have a lot of chassidish and nachas from each and every one of your children.